Okay, guys, what's up? Yes, okay, DJ Emmanuel, and I'm super excited to be here today. And the reason why I'm doing this video is to kind of like just have a conversation, and talk about like, for example, if a client is thinking of migrating to the cloud or migrating from their on-prem data center to maybe the cloud. Maybe it can be AWS, it can be Azure, it can be GCP. you know what are some of the questions you should ask the client, right? Or what are the most important questions you should ask the client, and most importantly, why are you asking the client on these questions? So this is exactly what I'm going to be talking about today. The questions you should ask a client. If a client comes to you and says, hey, we want to migrate to the cloud, what are some of the questions you should ask them? Just give me 1 second. Let me see if I can make this brighter. Okay, cool. So what are some of the questions you should ask? uh, the first question is, why are you migrating to the cloud, right? Why are you migrating to the cloud? The reason is you want to know what's the problem, like what is the primary reason why they want to migrate to the cloud. uh, there may be three reasons why this company is thinking of migrating to the cloud. One common reason may be that they have their on-prem data center and they just want to close that data center and move to the cloud completely, right? That could be a reason, you know. And another reason could be performance issue. Maybe they have this amazing application that's running on their on-prem data center, but it's slow and stuff like that. So they want to move it to the cloud because of performance issues. Then another reason is they just want to use, cloud native tools. They want to integrate more cloud native tools into the application in order to make the application powerful, right? So it's important for you to ask this question to be able to understand why the customer is trying to move that application from on-prem into the cloud. Another reason could just because it's very expensive to run an on-prem data center. They just want to shut it down, and which comes back to data center exit. So they just want to shut down the data center because it's too expensive for them to run it, and they just want to move to the cloud because they can save on cost, they can save on servers, on databases, they can save on a lot of things. So the first question to always ask the client is why they want to migrate to the cloud. The next question is how much of a code change are they okay with, right? They have this application, they want to move it to the cloud. So how much of a code change are they okay with? Some clients will tell you that they want a complete redevelopment of the application. So they want the application to be rebuilt, right? They want the application to be rebuilt. So maybe they want to use, integrate more cloud native tools into the application. So they just want the whole application to be broken down, rebuilt, then deployed in the cloud. Some clients will say minor code changes, so they don't really want anything. They just want minor code changes, like um, nothing too heavy, nothing too complicated, right? Just minor code changes. And some clients will just tell you that no code change at all. They don't want anything to be changed. So they just want you to just move their application on Azure or on GCP or on AWS. Don't do any code change. Just move it to just leave the application and put it in the cloud without doing any code change and stuff like that. Now, another important question to ask the client is, have you done any migration before? It's very important to ask this question. The reason why you're asking this question is it's because you want to know if they have migrated some applications or maybe part of the application before to the cloud, right? And if they have done so, do they already have it means they already have a VPC, right? and you're just migrating it into that VPC and stuff like that. But if they've never done any migration to the cloud before, it means you have to design your migration strategy and think of things like, oh, the VPC, for example, or it means you guys have to set up a VPC. And if you're going to be setting up a VPC, what's the CIDR of that VPC going to be? And what's the CIDR you guys are currently using in your on-prem data center? So you're going to be asking that questions like that. And most of the time, you have to sit down with your network engineers and kind of decide, on how the network is going to be and all the rest. Then another question you usually ask a client is, what load balancer are you guys using in your on-prem data center? 9 out of 10, I mean to say, it's always going to be something like maybe F5. Let me see. Yeah, it's always going to be like maybe F5, probably they're going to be using F5 to as a load balancer. One important question again you're going to ask is concerning the load balancer stuff. So basically, when you're moving an application on the cloud, you don't really need to worry yourself about provisioning a server and installing a load balancer software on top of that server. Those are managed services in the cloud, where, for example, if you're moving something like, if you're moving to AWS is already taking care of that load balancer for you, so you don't have to think about something like that, right? Then another question is, what operating system is running on your servers at the moment? This is a very, very important question. Like, what operating system is running on your servers at the moment? What version is it, right? Is it Windows? Is it Mac OS? Is it Linux? And if it's a Linux operating system, what distribution of Linux is it? Is it Ubuntu? Is it CentOS? Is it Red Hat? What distribution of Linux it is? What database are you using? This is an interesting question. You have, and you must ask this question to the client: what database are they using? It's very, very important, and the reason why you're asking this question is because when you're moving a client from on-prem to the cloud, you always want to try as much as possible to recommend native tools, cloud native tools. Ask if they're using, for example, they're using a relational database. For example, they're using a MySQL database. You can tell them that, oh, you know what, you guys could move from MySQL to something like Aurora, which is fully managed by AWS. You won't have to manage the database yourself and stuff like that, because the whole idea is to ask these questions and recommend as many cloud native tools as possible, right? If a client is using a MySQL database, I'll likely tell them that, hey, just move it to Aurora, you'll be good, right? So you have to ask what type of database are they using, and also, do they want to keep their database on-prem, or do they want to move it to AWS? That's also an important question to ask. Now, another thing you have to ask is that, is this a public facing application, or is it a public facing website? And if yes, what is the spread of your customers? It's important to ask this question: what is the spread of your customers? Are your customers just in the United States? And if they're just in the United States, what part of the United States are they in? Like, for example, are they just in the eastern part, central? Are more of your customers from like California? Are more of your customers from from New York? Like, what part of the United States? Or maybe you may have a client that says, okay, we have customers worldwide, right? Worldwide. We have customers everywhere trying to access our application. We have customers in India, we have customers in China, in the United States, in Canada, in Mexico. We have customers everywhere. So it's always important to ask the client, what is the spread of your customers? If they tell you that, okay, we have customers all over the United States, we have customers all over the world, now, you now have to start thinking of things like latency routing and stuff like that. Another important thing to ask the client is what CDN are they using? Are they using any CDN at all? Like, are they using any content delivery network at all? So you always have to make sure you ask that question. And if you're moving to AWS, you can say, okay, once we move to AWS, we're gonna use something like CloudFront to kind of help you deliver your application faster to the customer by caching it at edge locations and stuff like that. Another very good question to ask is security, right? Are you guys using any web application firewall solutions? It's always important to ask a question like that. What is the size of your servers? That's an important question to ask. What is the size of your server? I think Amazon has a discovery agent. uh, I don't think not just Amazon. I think even Azure and GCP they have like discovery agents. You can install the discovery agents on top of you can install it on servers and stuff like that. Then it's going to run some processes and will kind of like give you an idea of the workloads, like the type of servers, was their CPU, was their RAM, was their memory and stuff like that. It will give you that type of information. But it's always good to ask the client, because the client may already have an idea. If the client tells you that, oh, we have this type of servers we're running, it has this memory, this capacity and stuff like that, you can just mash what the client gave you with servers in the cloud. So, you can just pick the same capacity in the cloud, and you move the application to what is already in the cloud. Now, another very important question to ask is, what is the variation in your workload? It means, how is your traffic? How is the traffic on the application? Is it fixed, or does it fluctuate? Right. If the traffic is fixed, you do not need any auto scaling, because auto scaling is expensive. There's no need setting up auto scaling in an environment where the traffic is fixed, right? There are 100 people using this application, and well, from the first of the month to the 30th of the month, 100 people are on this application and they're using it. But if it varies, now you have to start thinking of things like auto scaling. You have now to bring in auto scaling. You have to start thinking of saying, oh, it means we have to create a target group. Once we move it, we have to bring AMIs and stuff like that. We have to set up an entire auto scaling solution, so that whenever the traffic moves increases, auto scaling increases the resources in order to meet the workload. And whenever the traffic reduces, auto scaling will also reduce the resources in order to meet workload. And another good thing about auto scaling is that it helps you keep the resources you need, so you're not having unnecessary servers running without doing anything, right? So you just have the servers you need, or the servers you need are running and stuff like that. Then another very good question is this application stateful, or is this application stateless? Very, very, very important. Is the application stateful, or is the application stateless? It's extremely, 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 extremely important to ask this question to clients. So basically, a stateful application is an application where the data of the user is stored on the servers, right? Which means the user visits your website or your app, they do some activities on it, maybe they just move around, add some things to cart, do certain things, and that data is stored on the server. That's a stateful architecture. And the stateful architectures are very, very, very difficult to scale, because that's a new challenge that's coming up. So you will now have to start thinking of how to scale, especially when you have auto scaling that's in there, launching servers and terminating servers, and you have the data of users on those servers. Auto scaling is terminating. bro, that becomes a problem, right? That becomes a problem, especially to the user, right? That will be a bad user experience. Um, is it stateless architecture? In the stated architecture, it's a bit easy to scale a stateless architecture, right? Why? Because the data of the user is not stored on the server, it's stored somewhere else, right? And now, if they tell you that it's a stateless architecture, now you have to start thinking of storing where to store that data. Like, you now have to start thinking of saying, oh, it means we're going to bring an external database to store the user's data, probably DynamoDB or Elastic Cache and stuff like that to store that users' data. And now, which is a lot of work for the engineering team, because now the engineering team, they now have to figure a way to connect everything together and make everything work, which becomes another challenge and another workload. Another very important question you have to ask the customer is, what is the RTO and what is your RTO and what is your RPO? So RTO stands for recovery time object. It's how long for, let me just put it this way. You have to ask the customer, if this application goes down today, how long can this application stay down? Right? You have to ask the customer that question. Now, some companies will tell you that if it's a financial application, like for example a banking application, it cannot afford to be down for even for more than 2 hours, right? The mostly banks will design we design a solution that would prevent the application to go down for more than 2 hours. But if it's an internal application being used by employees, it can be down for maybe a couple of days, maybe 2 days, maybe 24 hours, maybe 8 hours, maybe 3 hours. If it's an internal application used by employees to maybe submit their timesheet, clock in and stuff like that, the company can just send an email to all the employees and tell them that, hey, this application is going to be down for 2 days and you have to manually submit your timesheets. But if it's a banking application, they can afford for it to be down for 2 days. Imagine me not being able to log into my Capital One bank account, right, for 2 days. I would definitely go to Bank of America. So you have to ask the customer that question. They may tell you that they cannot afford for the application to go down, and some will tell you that they can afford for the application to be down for some time. Another very important question is the RPO. So RPO stands for recovery point object. So basically, it's how much data can that company afford to lose in case that application is down. How much data can they afford to lose? So these two questions will help you design a disaster recovery strategy once the application moves to the cloud, or once the application moves to AWS or to Azure or to GCP. For example, if the client tells me something like, hey, Emmanuel, it's an internal application, it can be down for a day, right? Probably the disaster recovery strategy is going to be something like, backup and restore, where we're just backing up the data, and if the application goes down, we're restoring that data, right? So that's another important thing to ask the client. Another one is, where do you keep your logs? Like, where are the logs? Where do you keep it? And what is your backup strategy? I know I just talked about the RTO and the RPO, but it's still important to ask the customer this question, where they keep their logs, right? You want to know that. Then the next and final question to ask the client during the migration project is monitoring. Like, how do you monitor your infrastructure, right? How is monitoring set up? Probably if they're moving to like AWS, they're probably going to use something like CloudWatch. Going to use like CloudWatch for monitoring, or CloudTrail, but it's important to ask the client how they monitor their infrastructure. It's extremely important to ask that question. Then for the security part of things, you have to ask the client a lot of questions about security. How are they currently securing that application on-prem? That will help you design a cloud-based security solution. You have to start saying, oh, I'm going to use AWS firewall to secure my VPC, and to secure the VPC, I'm going to use network azure to secure the subnet. I'm going to use security group to secure the instances, right? I'm going to use VPC flow log to monitor the activities of VPC across the network. Oh, I'm going to use WAF, web application firewall, to secure the application. And I'm also since I'm going to be using the content delivery network, I'm going to configure WAF to work at the content at an edge location level. Then you will not start thinking of saying, oh, I need an intrusion detection mechanism that will just sit, kind of like sit and analyze and look at things. So probably I'm going to use something like AWS guard duty. Now, if you're using AWS guard duty, you have to build a pipeline using Kinesis that will take the logs from guard duty to an S3 bucket where a security team can then come in, analyze it. Or you have to figure a way to say, okay, I'm going to push this to an external application like Wazoo, for example. Is it Wazoo? I don't really know if it's Wazoo, like Wazoo, for example. Then you have to think of if they tell you that, hey, this application is used worldwide by everybody. For example, maybe it's a game, for example, right? Maybe it's a game, for example, where everybody is using it worldwide and stuff like that. Now you now have to start thinking of things like a DOT attack or a DDoS attack, right? You have to start thinking of a DDoS attack. Or in order for us to prevent a DDoS attack, we have to bring in, for example, AWS Shield to prevent a DDoS attack and stuff like that. Then you also have to ask the client what DNS are they using, right? What domain name system are they using? And if they can migrate, if you're moving to AWS, and if they can migrate to the AWS native service, which is Route 53, can they move to Route 53? So guys, so these are some of the questions you will ask. These are just some of the questions you ask the client, as you're designing the solution for them to migrate to. You'll just keep having more meetings with them, having more conversations with them to kind of like assess and design a more robust, more secure, more scalable solution for them. So guys, thank you for taking the time to watch this video. I really appreciate that you took some time off to sit down and listen to my boring stuff. So guys, thank you very much, and please